In 1996, Scholastic began publishing Animorphs. Over the next 6 years, Katherine Applegate and her husband, Michael Grant, under the pseudonym K.A. Applegate, produced 54 main series books, several spin-offs, and inspired a TV series, graphic novels, and a cult following. We can't tell you where we live. We can't even tell you our last names. But we can tell you our thoughts and feelings on...
I'm Eddie.
And I'm Chris.
And we are... The Anidorks. These may be kids' books, but we discuss dark themes and mature content. There may also be some explicit language. Listener discretion is advised.
I feel like we're in a very different position tonight than we were last time we started the book. And then
I for one, am so thankful that we're that flexible.
Yeah.
Am I starting this timer or not? Because I have 12 minutes for our intro section.
Okay. I
ready?
feel like,
right.
At least Miranda, I know that you're
Answer
also
my
very
question.
excited.
Am I starting the timer?
Yeah.
All right.
I feel like I know that you're also very excited to talk about this book, but I don't know how Chris feels.
This might be my favorite book in the series after book 12.
Wait, really?
After book 12, yeah, you'd think?
Yeah.
I
think it kicks ass.
It does kick a lot of ass. And I will say again, in the book 12 theme, like, it is a book that is, like, unapologetically narrated by a girl, about a girl. Mm-hmm. And, like, there are things that come along with that are negative, that are positive, whatever. But, like, there's no, like, oh, and this is the girl character we threw in, but we assume boys are reading this. This is, like, about a girl. And I'm like, yes.
She also... She had a lot of, like, textural differences. Her self-talk seemed a lot darker to me than it did in book 12 and in book 2. Like, she had I don't know what to call it, an intenseness or an urgency in the way that her thoughts came across. And her thoughts were sort of communicated more, like the way that she narrates is very you're along for her thought process ride, which actually differs from how the others are.
Yeah, whereas
it felt
maybe
immersive.
having some of that. It felt immersive, yeah.
Whereas
Marco
the other
had
books
some of that.
very much like lean into the idea that they're writing this later. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
She just like
exactly,
it feels like she has to relive the memory to write it down. You know what I mean? Like even if she is writing it later, she has to go through it step by step. That's how that's her process.
Yeah, or it's a subtle inconsistency where it's just like her books are written in that thing, but I really liked that positioning. It was exciting. It was exciting.
This book has, and maybe because of what we're talking about right there, it has none of the lopsidedness, the top heaviness that book 16 had. It feels very complete, I think.
Right, in spite of the fact that I think again, the majority, once we get into the sort of like siege section vis-a-vis the other book, it's not so much a siege in this one, but like once we get into the hard action at the end of the book, it is nonstop and it is going. And it would be really easy for that to have outweighed everything else that was happening, but it doesn't. It doesn't feel uneven.
Yeah. Much like digging a tunnel from point A to point B, the book progressed.
Why do you say that? Why do you?
I don't know. It just popped into my head, but it didn't have the false starts and back and forths of book 16.
Yeah.
It had momentum in a way that I remember from book 5, Marco's first book.
And they turned the moments of non-momentum into tension and work, like when they're digging a hole. Am I allowed to say it's a tunnel?
They dig a hole, and it could be a very boring sequence.
And then they get really invested in this task of digging the hole to get to their goal and to save the boy's soul. And the thing, it just like, it actually really did a good job, like keeping you at your progress marker. There was no like, oh, I'm just a kid again. Oh, I'm just a that again. Oh,
there's also, there's a clip of Trey Parker and Matt Stone, which is, it's on whatever, but like they're talking about making South Park and it's like a writing workshop with them.
Oh, I watched this clip.
Yeah. And it's like, it should never be like, you should never be and then.
In like, between two story beats, you should never say this happened and then this happened.
It should always be this happened so, or because this happened, therefore like, and this book very much felt like that. Even the less important decisions that they make feel like they very naturally lead into what's about, like what goes on next.
Yeah.
Listener, we're talking about book 17, The Underground, also.
The
I don't know
Underground.
if you said
which
that.
you may have noticed from the title, description, and also fuck off. Just know this stuff. We need you to be on the ball, okay? Like, look.
God knows we're not.
We're losing it, and we need you to follow us. So
Also,
lock in,
I do think
okay?
we should make a little note here. It is the week before Christmas right now that we're recording, and we're very
Where are you going
excited to
with
talk
this?
about this book, but we are also a bit scrambled as we talk about it.
Yeah,
There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on.
But should we do our 3-sentence summaries?
Yeah, does anybody know whose turn it is to do what?
I don't. We
think
could
I
just
did
do
I'm
it
three
back to
last
2
time.
sentences. I know that. I keep track of what I'm on. So.
I might have been 1, so I'll do 3 this time.
Okay, I'll take one. I had an idea for one, and I don't remember what it was.
That's a crying shame. Okay,
Yeah.
so
And a cry.
I've
We're
got
not allowed to have ideas about these things.
Oh, that's true. I got time, though. I got time.
You're not. Yeah, that's premeditated. Okay, so all right, I'm on the clock here. I'm gonna give myself. Oh no, I have nothing. Hold on, give me an actual second here. In book 17, Rachel and the gang find themselves the savior of a person who leapt from a tall building. Period. In saving that person, they end up talking to him and learning that there is a chemical weapon that can be deployed against the Yeerks in the form of instant maple ginger oatmeal. And the instant part is apparently very important.
Very important.
This book, more than the others, is meticulous in its attention to detail, bizarrely, in its descriptions of physics and other logistic things. And also, oh God, I'm going to get fired from the Anidorks. It's also remarkable because we're really getting to the nitty gritty of like committing those war crimes. And 3-sentence summary. I did a horrible job. I'm so sorry.
Well done.
The Animorphs discover Yeerk kryptonite and return, finally, to the Yeerk pool from book 1, period.
Full stop.
This book is obsessed with the theme of being buried alive, literally, and possibly, figuratively, ... question mark. That's where I stop.
Nice.
All right, I got 2 options for you, okay?
And only
Okay.
1 sentence. That's such
Only
a
one
shame.
sentence. So, option 1, : breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Semicolon.
Fuck.
Option 2, : Freud would have a field day with this one.
Yeah.
I'll accept both.
I
And it's not a 2-sentence summary. It's not a 2-sentence summary.
It's not. It's 1.
It's
one.
2. That's true because it's a complex list, is what it is actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was great. That was yeah, it's a hard book to sum up, and I'm excited as we get deeper into it. I'm excited to reread it because there were a lot of kind of remarkable echoes throughout it where something would happen in an earlier chapter and then you'd see the same thing happen again in a later chapter in a more intense context. It had a lot of that kind of like echoing
Yeah.
effect.
And I would say like almost every like the main threads that we've seen throughout the series get picked up everywhere in the book. Like every like thing we've learned about a character is, if not revisited, mentioned. Like Axe and cinnamon rolls, Marco in movies, Tobias being a hawk. Oh wait, that one's pretty normal. But like she's keeping track of everything. You know what I mean?
It does feel like there was a lot of picking up the rope that's already been deployed, and bringing it along.
Yeah.
There's a way of saying that I'm not saying right now.
It had some of the best like book to book continuity, like details like her house still being wrecked and stuff like that we'll see. Like all these sorts of things where it's like, wow, we're in a causal world where stuff happens.
Which always just makes me wonder. I mean, it's probably mostly random that suddenly they have the time or resources or foresight or just creative inspiration to write a book where it's got that kind of perspective versus the ones that feel very self-contained and not rushed, never rushed, but like there's a little bit less of that attention being given to, like, it feels more.
I kind of want to try reading this one right after book 12. Like just read. I want to do the Rachel slice. I want to do the Jake slice and the.
Do you two feel like it is very different than book 12 because I did feel that way.
Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty different.
Okay. And I guess
I don't think she feels inconsistent, but I feel like a lot's happened to her and that's noticeable.
Yeah, she's darker this time around.
Yeah. And she's unsure, which has been, I think, if I had to say the theme of this round of books recently, well, although I guess we just started a new round with Jake, but like, especially since last book, being unsure is the new status quo. And we see it in other characters in this book, but like seeing it from Rachel is a new perspective.
Uncertain is sexy. It's it, right? It's it.
Yeah, it's 1999 now.
Yeah.
And we remember that being true. Wait, Miranda, can you actually say a little bit more, though, about what you mean about uncertainty?
So last book was all about making the hard decisions and not being sure you did the right thing. And for Rachel, she talks a lot about the performative. I mean, Marco's thing was performative too. That's why I sort of feel like it's been going on longer than just this 2 series of books. And so like her not being sure that her performance of bravery is the right thing to do, but not being not being able to stop herself from doing it. But then also we get a moment in this book about the uncertainty where Cassie doesn't know what's morally the right choice. And she just owns up and says that. Yeah, and Rachel is deeply shaken by the idea that Cassie is not sure what is the morally correct thing to do. So I think in this section of books like this from Jake to Jake that we're doing right now from 16 to 16 plus 7, 23 is going to be like very uncertain. I think that's like the mood.
Yeah, it does seem like everybody's questioning the role they play in this. Like, yeah.
And also questioning even who they were and how they thought about war and about this whole fight, like what their values are and what their the lines that they're willing to cross. All of that is shifting, and I think you feel that right now. Yeah.
All right, shall we dig in? Shall we get started?
Yeah. Who wants to start us off?
I can go.
All right.
Chapter 1. Book 17, The Underground, opens with Rachel and the rest of the gang enjoying an afternoon off. It's a weekday, but school released early today for a teacher conference of some sort. For once, there's nothing immediately pressing for the kids to handle as Animorphs either. We find them walking through the woods, trying to convince Jake to join them for a bit of recreational morphing, or as Rachel calls it, using their powers for personal, selfish reasons. You see, beloved restaurant chain Planet Hollywood has arrived in the Animorphs' hometown. There will be a grand opening celebration downtown, attended by a variety of celebrities. But it's a ticketed event, and Rachel and Marco don't have tickets, so they need to convince Jake to allow them to use their morphing powers to enter. Rachel gushes about the fashionable clothing she might see, and Marco, ostensibly straight, squeals about seeing Xena and speaks with, quote, silky significance, end quote, about Shaq. Their closing argument? Axe's Earth education is severely lacking in one particular area, pop culture. Say no more, Jake says. Even he can't resist Shaq.
I'll say that I do think I'm so sorry, but isn't their closing argument that Shaq will be there?
It is their closing argument.
That is the closing argument.
The gist of their initial argument is the pop culture thing.
Was the pop culture thing, and then they realized that wasn't working, and they sealed the deal with...
I love that listeners are not only getting the 3 of us talking about the Animorphs books, they also get the 2 of you critiquing my summaries of the Animorphs books.
I couldn't do what you do. I couldn't do what you do.
in that I would not be able to write something as inaccurate as that.
No, I enjoy it.
No, I'm just teasing.
I am worried. There's one summary where I'm like, man, I wanted to go over that again before we recorded.
Oh man, I'm so excited.
Can't wait.
I'm so excited to see it. All right, that's good.
Okay, so like
Planet Hollywood.
Planet Hollywood.
Who'd have thought? Yeah.
Also, off the jump with her, my name is Rachel, I can't tell you my last name.
Okay, maybe not the book to say that, but...
You're not wrong.
Coming up on a big jump.
But so she says... She can't tell you her last name. No offense. I'm not trying to be difficult or too cool. I'm just being careful.
Yes.
And like, this is so, to me, like something that only someone who's been hit on at the mall or in a situation where they're just trying to have a good time with their friends would say, because like, that's what it's like, why are you being difficult? Why are you acting like you're too cool to talk to me? It's like, no, I'm actually just here to do something else. I was already having a conversation and you need to fuck off. So it's like, I don't know, just to open a book with that is to me like, we're opening with, this is a book about a girl who has lived experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that like resonated with me.
We should say, and we'll say at the beginning of this episode, because we always have that disclaimer, but there is like mentioning of dark stuff. What is the technical, like we need to put a preface in for
We
this
need to
book.
put like a bit of a trigger warning for more
content about self-harm.
Suicidal ideation, and the judgment of people with those feelings.
And also sanatoriums or whatever they're called.
Yeah, and like some insensitive language about people with mental illness and things like that. It is a book from 1999 about some middle schoolers, so they're not the most sensitive kids.
Yeah, and the book just really doesn't seem to understand. Rachel's character does not have the capacity or like bendability to ensconce the headspace of a person in that place. And that is consistent with her character. But anyway, I shouldn't have even brought that up now, but I just want to bring it up
it's
earlier,
an important note
before we got to it. And then we'll also try and remember to put an actual warning, because we haven't mentioned it yet. So this counts as a warning.
And then also with Rachel, there is always pretty much some sort of like imagery that could be construed as sexual assault imagery. And so like we do need to like that will be happening this book. But on another note, something else Rachel does that I don't think any of the kids have done, at least in a while, in their opening, is to mention the fact that the Yeerks want them for their physical bodies.
Yes.
That it's not about taking over the Earth for the sake of taking over human society.
But
they literally just want their bodies.
But she specifically goes on a rant where she says this war is different than other wars. It's not like some stupid... What did she say, Miranda? Do you have the book up?
I do. They don't care about land. They don't care about ideology. They don't want to take over our capital and raise some flag or whatever. They want us. And then she goes on about being infested. But that weird understanding of war is so bizarre, where it's like, what do you think people are fighting over? Like it's usually resources, survival, control, people. Yeah.
Like, it's usually the literal control of people. Like
Marco had a similarly naive moment in his most recent book where he says like he thinks war is funny that you would fight over a piece of land, and it's like really hammering home that they can't understand or don't or can't understand yet what exactly leads to war.
It gives strong 90s like Desert Storm vibes. It's like, why is all this happening? Like, and then people are like just totally ignorant of the history that went into it and like the fact that people live
But
out
also there is sort of like a deeper fear. There's something, especially in a kid's like hopeful mind, that wars that are fought for things like that could someday be worked out peacefully. Whereas something where it's like, we're not trying to make concessions and they even have, I think, a conversation at some point in this book about like, what, could we give them a couple million humans and they just go away? It's not about that. They want to totally take all humans, and for the purposes of using their bodies in a larger war. Like this isn't even their end game. Like this is.
I did find, just reading these first paragraphs, that it occurred to me how little imagination has been given to the experience of being a controller. We got Jake as a controller briefly in book 6, but for me, that felt almost kind of... I feel like a lot of the implications and like the lived experience of that, it felt like it became really abstract when we got Jake in that position. Almost like what I wanted was that description from a third person perspective, but like an omniscient third person perspective, because I feel like
I see that.
Something about Jake being a controller felt really hard for me to wrap my head around. Yeah.
No pun intended.
Yeah, getting it from his perspective was sort of like, it's hard to understand exactly what the Yeerks can and can't do to your brain and exactly how they do it, because we've only gotten it from the complete outside perspective or the complete inside perspective. We've never had someone describe it to us, really.
Yeah. And I feel like Rachel's description here, like just simple phrase, you have no privacy. I even feel like we've had some version of that said before, but with everything that we get right here, the violation of it felt like it was finally communicated to me in a way that I don't feel like it was clicking. I don't feel like there's been that much empathetic narration about what it's like to be a controller. It's always very removed, or no one's really imagining what it could be like. You know, we get like the Yeerk wrapping around your brain like a blanket, but we don't get what would that feel like. That kind of, it feels very distant from that.
But again, Rachel, even in her first chapter, we're already getting this like violation narrative of the Yeerks that we don't see from the other characters. And that's like, Interesting.
It's consistent to her, like, her framing that we were, like, picking up back in book 2. It's just a different, it's a very strong perspective. It's like, what am I trying to say? Sorry.
It's her lens, sort of.
It's her lens. That's what I want.
Lens she views it through.
I was like, there's a word for this and I can't find it.
Do you know what I'm talking about though when I describe that? Do you feel like that's true for you too as well? Or is that something that I feel like
to an extent, I wish I had more information about from the Yeerks' point of view. But
that would be fun. Yeah.
And so like a third person omniscient narrator would be able to give me everything that's going on at once presented in the same place. And like that would be very helpful for like sort of conceptualizing it. But I think for the most part, I've at least gotten what I think the books want me to get. So like I think I get it enough.
Yeah. You're like reduced to a little homunculi inside of yourself that no longer can pull your I imagine it, because I'm Yeerked, so I can speak to this experience. The way that I would describe it is, guys, I just cleaned my ears because the last time I went to the Kandrona or the Yeerk pool, they were like, "Yo, we
cannot get anything in there."
So anyway, as a Yeerked person, what happens to me when I put it in is I'm kind of like, I'm still there, but I'm in the back of the movie theater and there's no popcorn. And so you're just sort of like looking across the theater, out your eyes, thinking your thoughts, but also someone else is thinking your thoughts. And your thoughts are kind of all in the movie theater with you.
But that sounds like, as a voluntary controller, that does sound like it could be a vibe.
Yeah.
It's great. I mean, I watch, sometimes when I watch YouTube all the time.
Which is, I think, different than most controllers because they watch
who just have their phone turned off, held up in front of them on the toilet,
looking at their own reflection.
Intentionally, they're watching themselves poop.
It would be interesting to find out. Like I was just talking about Naruto in depth a bit recently, and it's like it takes them forever to realize that the shadow clones retain their memories. And I'm like, it would be cool to be able to just check out during a movie and then come watch the Yeerk's memory of the movie or something. Like if it worked both ways.
That would be cool.
I wonder, could we hear what this silky significance sounds like? Does Marco have a line there? Am I right? Like, yes, an O and by an O. Yes, go ahead.
By the way, not that you care, Jake.
Oh my god!
But a Mr. O'Neill is going to be there.
Wow.
A Mr. Shaquille O'Neal.
Eddie, you have to try this.
But I think that was it.
I don't know about that. I don't know
really?
about that. I think Eddie, give it your best sultry hit.
Okay. Well, it's not sultry. It's silky.
And by the way.
And by the way, not that you care, Jake. For some reason, I feel like it should be Mr. Jake there. But we're gonna get
Mr. Jake.
And not that you care, Jake, but a Mr. O'Neill is going to be there. A Mr. Shaquille O'Neal.
Shaq?
Yeah,
that's what Jake says.
Well, then we're
Chris,
there.
Now we have to get your line read.
Okay. Oh, by the way, not that you care, Jake, but a Mr. O'Neill is going to be there. A Mr. Shaquille O'Neal.
Wait, Chris, can we get that again? But I think what we're looking for is a little bit more silky significant.
Oh, okay. And, oh my God, I can feel it.
That's the silk.
That's the silk. It's smooth. It's in there.
What's the thread count on this?
Yeah, the thread count. Oh my God, here we go. And by the way, not that you care, Jake, but a Mr. O'Neill is going to be there. A Mr. Shaquille O'Neal.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
We do get a mention that the Lyrans are a new race that the Yeerks are trying to take over, so we're keeping that thread.
From book 15.
We get another Schwarzenegger impression, which we have had before, and Axe not understanding it, so like Marco gets to keep bringing it back,
It's true. And Planet Hollywood sounds like a weird thing.
It is a restaurant, but I don't know if they've arranged some sort of stage for them to do this performance on. She says there's going to be a Ralph Lauren fashion show. No, why would there be a fashion show at a chain restaurant?
Not only that, we'll get there. We're going to get there in the next chapter. But what exactly is happening at this show? I don't see why anyone would pay money for it except teenagers. So I'm I don't think this sounds like a desirable thing, but
no, I mean the idea of like going to a restaurant where you know celebrities will be at, that's ridiculous.
But that's not what ridiculous. I think Planet Hollywood usually is. It's usually just like I thought it's just a restaurant. It's a restaurant with like Hollywood memorabilia. I've been to the one in Disney World and they've just got like the Judge Dredd costume.
Apparently
and,
they
like,
would pay people to make appearances there.
Oh.
Which is actually,
cool.
I think, different than what you want, which is you go to the restaurant where you hear that Taylor Swift goes and sits down with her friends and has a coffee.
Taylor Swift doesn't have any friends. Move on.
And then you go and you peek over at the other table. I don't think you want to go where
there should be a big glass wall between the celebrity section and the regular people.
But so no,
section.
the idea of this restaurant though was very much so that you would go and I don't know, hobnob.
Well, that's why they went
elbows with.
Yes, What's the episode? There's an early episode of Animaniacs where there's going to be a big
Michelle Pfeiffer. Don Knotts.
Yeah, but it's like what? And who is Don?
I can't remember
hoping
the first
for?
One. She wants to meet
Mel Gibson. Actually, I think it's like Mel Gibson, Michelle Pfeiffer.
Don Knotts.
Okay.
Wacko wants to meet Don Knotts.
I'm ready for chapter 2. I just want to say. Rachel says she's bad at lying here, but that's not how she's
It's a lie. Yeah, that's a lie.
Survivor.
She lies all the time.
She lies
Rachel
all the
liar.
Her book 2 was about lying. You're right, Miranda. Thank you.
Rachel the liar. But
moving on.
Moving on. All right. No, you're right.
I'm sorry. No, go ahead.
Chapter
I just wanted
2,
to say
it's scary. No, that's fine. Okay. The kids fly to the Planet Hollywood, and he's so mad at me. The kids fly to the Planet Hollywood event in their bird morphs, soaring between the downtown skyscrapers. Don't hit me, Eddie. They're just in time to catch a Riverside concert on an outdoor stage. There's Shaq, Lucy Lawless, Naomi Campbell, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Bruce Willis. This is... Oh my God, this is the Planet Hollywood promise. Not to see these celebrities individually. That's child's play. We have them at home. We have them at home. But to see this bizarre array of human beings, none of them famous for their musical prowess, jam out with Bruce Willis on his slobbery harmonica. That's what we fucking want. That's what we need. Something catches Rachel's eyes. A man on the 60th floor of an office building suddenly shatters a window with a metal chair. Rachel alerts the others through thought speak, concerned that something terrible is about to happen. Cassie sees the man as well. He's about to jump, she says. The man backs away from the window, then charges towards it. Rachel and the others race towards the man, but he is already falling.
Dark.
What's the WWE? And oh my God! From the top rope, it's the Undertaker with a metal chair.
The absolute confidence with which these books are just like, they're books sold at Scholastic Book Fairs. I know we have not touched on, but we talked about a lot in the beginning.
Long time ago.
About in a while. The absolute confidence with which they just go towards a new dark theme or subject matter.
Yep. It's just like Degrassi. It's just like Degrassi. It's just like
people
forget in this
that,
episode we tackle, I don't know, sex work. Like just out of nowhere.
Absolutely. It's like episode 1, kidnapping. Later that season, Manny gets pregnant. Why did she not think she could get pregnant? It was her first time. So she didn't think it's like we're tackling poor sex education, teen pregnancy, the decision to get an abortion or not. Like oh my God, love Degrassi. We should do a Degrassi
the thong
podcast.
episode as well?
No, I don't think that's the
They
thong
split
episode.
that up. So she had the thong episode and then the pregnancy episode.
Yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, I want to point out the line. She says she could see everything. The drool covered harmonicas because she says she could see flecks of spit when Bruce Willis played his harmonica. She was an eagle morph, so she had really good eyes. She says she could see all the individual buttons on Ralph Lauren outfits, and she said I could see Naomi Campbell's pores. And she still looked great. And that is just so, like I said, this book is unapologetically about a girl who likes girly things and also about a really aggressive fighter. And I just, I love the juxtaposition. I love it.
Yeah.
And she's also very excited when she sees Lucy Lawless and then tries to pretend that she isn't.
I know. I love that detail because it's like she pretends not to like Xena, but who could not like Xena?
She's such a queen.
Speak about that for a moment. So this is actually where Marco gets very excited to see Lucy Lawless. And where is it?
He goes, Xena, it's Xena. Okay, Rachel, the time has come. Fly down there, morph back to human, and you and Xena have it out. See who can kick whose butt. And she says, Marco, you do like to cling to your pathetic little dreams, don't you? And he says, yes, I absolutely do. And Rachel, don't forget the leather outfit.
Yeah. Is this how a tiny child, like, I feel like this is how I would have reacted to Xena when I was 12 or whatever. I just don't know that.
What? Straightly? What are you saying?
I don't think Marco's reacting straightly. I don't think
he wants to see two women in leather fighting. I
guess
know.
I mean more.
I'm not saying he's straight.
Marco cried delighted, but I feel like
I think the leather
she's a
is what
strong
makes it,
women. So, like, that is a thing that, like, people...
the leather is what makes it work for Marco. Marco can see past his head, like, he's in a leather
so, like,
fantasy.
Marco is bi with a preference for mask-presenting or muscle mommies.
Right.
In leather. Okay.
Yeah, maybe I'm just also seeing it through my lens. That's how I was reading the scene.
No. The leather is a weird detail. I don't enjoy that line one bit.
It's the fact that Lucy Lawless could kick my ass that really like for that show, it wasn't like Wonder Woman where they were like, she's just super strong even though she's so petite. Like Lucy Lawless looked like she could kick the shit out of you. And that was what sold it.
Yeah. So I guess I just find it hard to hold Marco who talks about babes with Marco who goes, Xena, Marco cried delighted. Like, that sounds like it's his hero.
She was a sex symbol, for sure.
Are you confused? Is it like that he's verse or something?
You think he wants to be her? Is that like what's
I don't know. I feel like he's just excited to see.
He's just like celebrity.
Yeah.
Yeah, like...
He's excited to see John Goodman.
Yeah, that would be Chris. Yeah, John Goodman. Chris cried delighted.
Is he doing Roseanne at this point?
I also just think a different book would open the chapter with the man jumping out of the window. But half of this chapter, I think, is...
You might be wondering how I got here.
I'm talking about...
Well, it's a funny story.
Yeah.
It all started 10 seconds ago when I threw a chair at a window.
I also have just never heard someone going about that process that way, throwing a chair at a...
You can't open windows in skyscrapers.
I feel interested that she noticed and that she's the one that noticed. It feels interesting that it was her.
It feels like something else drew her eye there, the way it reads, kind of. Is that...
Yeah.
Like some kind of intuition or something?
She just really likes the Kenny building.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's right next to the X Tower.
It needed to be named, right? Like,
yeah.
It did. Yeah.
Is the X Tower in their city?
I think so.
Yeah.
Also, they mentioned that the huge pieces of glass fell and, like, sliced through the top of parked cars. So, like, is it just good luck that there was nobody fucking down there? Were they all at this concert?
It's also like you would never have a high tower with
Yeah.
not tempered glass at the top.
Yeah.
Like,
They mentioned that, like, other people had stayed late at work in these big high-rise buildings to watch from the buildings, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But,
I think it's sort of like the fact that Jake definitely crushed people as a rhino. I think we're just not being told that someone got a big shard of glass right through the top of it.
Yeah, that's true. That's fair.
It's unpleasant.
that's-
Why bring
that's-
more attention to it? Like,
that's Jake's glass shard. Yeah, we just don't talk about that anymore.
Yeah. So they realize that they can't possibly carry him the whole way, but
They're going to try and save him. They're going
to try and get him to the
what
nearby
happens
river.
In chapter 3, right? Should I read this
Shall we move
description?
in?
wait, can I ask one question?
Sure.
We know Bruce Willis is playing a harmonica. Is everyone else playing or singing?
Harmonicas. Dude, it's a harmonica jam. It's the most shrill
Are
thing.
they dancing?
Yeah.
Are they, what
No,
are they doing?
no, they're
John
standing,
Goodman sings.
they're leaning on stools. Yeah, but John Goodman's up there trying to sing, and then it's just harmonicas that are just drowning him out.
Yeah.
Wait, so you think they're all on harmonica?
I think they're all on harmonica.
I don't think so. Why is Bruce
He
Willis
sings
playing
that
the
Randy
harmonica?
Newman song at the end of Monsters, Inc. with Billy
There
Crystal.
is something about Bruce Willis playing a harmonica.
He does, or
Like,
did.
That's a thing.
He's,
yeah.
but
really?
Bruce Willis used it, and this is back when he was still with Demi Moore, right? Because they mentioned them
Since
together.
the 90s.
They're
Right.
not still together?
No.
I'm sorry, she was famously weirdly married to Ashton Kutcher for a while.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, yeah. Chapter 3. Take it away.
It's you.
Take it away, toys. It's actually Eddie.
No, it's Eddie. You're right. I'm sorry.
You said you were going to read it, so I thought...
I did. And then I was like, big it away, toys.
Together, the 6 Animorphs catch the falling man in their talons. They cannot stop his fall outright, but they manage to slow his descent enough to glide him away from the sidewalk and into the river. Now the man is drowning, however. Somehow he's become
I don't know why
stuck.
we swallowed the fly.
Somehow he's become stuck in the river mud. Rachel dives down into the water as a bald eagle, becoming human again, before morphing into a dolphin. She swims down to free the man from the mud and brings him up to the water's surface. Rachel noses him along to the river's edge, where a pair of distinctively strong arms are waiting to pull the man ashore. And I had a whole long thing here about Jingle All the Way, which I watched the other day for the first time since I was a child. And I deleted it the moment I signed on to the call because I did it at 5 o'clock this morning.
I've never seen Jingle All the Way. I love Bossy Tobias in this chapter being like describing visual math that he's doing on the fly. Like, you fools, glide, don't flap.
Yeah, she also makes a guess that when she starts trying to carry the man who's falling, she guesstimates that she slows his descent by half a mile an hour or something like that. Yeah, it's like such a bizarrely...
Do you think what happens here is possible?
No, probably not.
I don't think so either, but...
yeah, I think
depending on how long they have, like, how far the river is, maybe... I doubt it.
I mean, we can probably Google.
Jake's pretty useless in this fight, right? Because peregrine falcons can't carry very much, but bald eagles can carry a good amount. Red-tailed hawks can carry a couple of pounds.
Let's pretend they're all bald eagles. They can, according to this random Facebook post, they can carry between 3 and 4 pounds. So no, I don't.
All they have to do is control his descent, though, at an angle to get him to the river.
Yeah, but
so with enough wings.
Yeah, but what do you think happens with the wings? Maybe. I don't know.
It's unlikely. If the river's very close, maybe. But
it's I'm willing to test this.
You're going to run outside and jump and grab an eagle? Is that
How are we going to train the birds?
I love this.
Yeah. No. I think we use what they had at the Renaissance Fair, Chris. I think they'll do
the buzzards. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. We go back there and make friends with the people in the booth and ask them if we can run a couple tests. And I jump from the top of the castle or the court.
Where that zip line is. I think we can do it there.
You're just here for the zip line.
Totally.
Yeah, it's pretty unlikely that they could do it. Eagles can't swim. Included in our notes, you will find a GIF of what an eagle looks like swimming. It's pretty dumb.
Maybe if you could take the wings of an eagle and you could tuck it under your arm and make kind of like a webbing so that the eagle itself wasn't supporting you. And that way you were using the feathers of the eagle. Maybe you could make a little squirrel suit. But then you'd still be diving roughly
yeah, this man's also going to have severe infections from where these guys grabbed him and then dumped him into a dirty-ass river.
It's true.
So,
how did he immediately get stuck?
Oh, there's a level of silt at the bottom of rivers that's very loosely packed dirt. And if you get into that shit and get under it and into the more packed dirt, you're just fucking stuck. You're just fucking stuck.
Yeah.
I thought at first that they saw him stuck 10 feet underwater, and it's actually that he's 10 feet below them where he is in the water because they're 10 feet above the river. I thought they could see him. Yeah, I was very confused.
He's at least 6 feet underwater because he's 6 feet tall. So he's at least, he's not at the surface or they could just grab him. She has to go under and morph a dolphin. There's enough water that a dolphin can swim.
She successfully morphs underwater.
That's true. This is the only reason that Rachel doesn't get caught is because somebody thinks they saw a dead body and they're too scared to look again. There's a boat going by, they see him struggling, think they saw a dead body, and if they'd looked again, they'd have seen Rachel morphing. But they're like, let's just not look at the dead body we think we saw.
I do. I think unless what they're doing is kind of like an episode of Normal Gossip where they're anonymizing their city, and their experience of what happened in these books, the fact that we now know a river cuts through
downtown
by
a planet
skyscrapers
Hollywood
of a certain height. There's a planet Hollywood. There's a large enough zoo/amusement park that it attracts tourism. Unless they're doing an incredible amount of anonymizing, I think we could probably find this city.
Yeah, I'm pulling up a list of all Planet Hollywood locations.
Well, they're out of business now in 1999.
It doesn't matter. I can pull up a list of all of them.
But it could be a Hard Rock Cafe. That
true.
is something that they could have changed it like that, but still risky.
So cringe.
Would you rather go to a Planet Hollywood or a Hard Rock Cafe?
I'd rather stay in.
I don't know.
Sorry, it's not one of the options I
feel like both of them have kind of mid food, but if I had to say, I think Hard Rock Cafe's food is maybe better than Planet Hollywood.
That's also my instinct, but I think I'd go to a Planet Hollywood first because I've been to a Hard Rock Cafe.
I go to that's what I was going to say.
I've been to both, so
Do we have to go to them at both as research? I think maybe
I think we might.
can write this off.
Yeah.
We record our 400th episode from live from a Planet Hollywood.
I think the audio would be good there. So
when they find the dead body, somebody shouts out, "Oh, my lord, what is it?" And it's like, and then the person's like, "I think it was a dead body," but it's like, I like to think that there's just like
what is it, my lord?
Like there's like a Renaissance fair thing happening outside of Planet Hollywood and medieval times right next.
Oh my God! It wasn't a Planet Hollywood. It was a medieval times.
Wow.
do we think at this moment Bruce Willis is still jamming, or do you think he stopped?
No, they have no idea what's happening. This all happens.
But Arnold comes down from the stage.
Pulls him out of the water. He notices.
Sorry for the spoiler, listeners. That is.
Well, you know what? Now that you spoiled it, we should read chapter 4. Miranda, take it away.
All right. Chapter 4. The next day, the Animorphs regroup in the mall's food court. Rachel reads aloud headlines about Schwarzenegger saving a man's life. Jake remarks that he's just grateful that seemingly no one managed to get a photo of those 6 raptors carrying a man to the water, or how bizarre it was that a dolphin was swimming so far from the ocean. Axe waits for Tobias to return to the table with a Cinnabon order. Cassie wonders aloud what will happen to George Edelman now. Rachel asks, "Who the fuck is that?" "The man you saved," Cassie says. She can't believe that Rachel doesn't already know his name. But Rachel is uncomfortable with the idea that she should have any kind of connection with this man, insisting that she wasn't doing anything heroic. It was a challenge, Rachel says. She just wanted to see if she could actually do it. Jake asks everyone to keep an eye on the media in case someone reports any odd animal behavior involved with this Edelman's rescue. Marco isn't too worried, pointing out the public might be reluctant to trust a man in the news for throwing himself out a window.
So before we get to Rachel saving this man for the lulz, I do want to say one thing that was kind of remarkable is when she dove down into the water to get him, and she like dove in as an eagle, turned into a dolphin and nosed him back up. She like warned the others not to follow her. She was like, "Don't do it." She was like, and they were like, "Duh, we're not going to do it."
Yeah,
and
they were like, "No, we know."
Okay, good, because I'm going to do it. And then she went and did the crazy thing. But that's like, that is the first of that. That happens again later in the book.
That's true. All right, so you're putting that flag up, yeah.
Oh, I thought you were saying that was the first of multiple things you were going to say. You're just fine.
No.
And
That's
now
the
we
first
can
time
talk. Now we can
something
talk
similar
about
will
Rachel's.
happen later. Yeah, Terminator becomes Resuscitator is unfortunately something I haven't terminated enough people to have put on my tombstone, but I do want that.
Well, you need you need to bring them back to life. You'd have to have killed and then been an EMT.
Yeah, I guess so. I was a lifeguard.
That's true. You were a lifeguard.
There was a nurse who brought
murder
people
nurse.
Murder nurse who brought people to the edge.
But then
of
she
death
nursed them back to health.
Yes,
and then she killed them again. No,
but sometimes she just killed them.
Well, sometimes you got to just see if it works.
It's always
right?
the risk.
Yeah, there's always the risk they might just die.
It's like when you're driving and you're like, "Am I even steering right now? Like I've been on this road for like an hour. Is this even doing anything?" And then you swerve a little and you live.
Yeah. You're just like, what
And
if
you
I
get
just
that rush.
drove into the median?
Get that rush. By the way, I never do that. Let's move on.
You only
Point
do that
is-
when you have passengers in the car.
Yeah.
So we do get a moment with Marco saying, you know, like, because Rachel's like, I do not want to be considered.
Wait, did we talk about the mouth-to-mouth resuscitation? Did we cover
it
that?
does say that. I didn't mention it.
We have to cover that
No.
because that was the biggest thing in the 90s, was in a sitcom that someone would be hurt and someone would have to give mouth-to-mouth and it would
That's
be
true.
remotely sexual. That was a big deal in the 90s.
Oh yeah,
Everyone
there were
was
tons
really
of movies,
afraid of it.
movies and shows about young boys pretending to drown so that hot girl lifeguards would like resuscitate them. That was a trope.
That was a trope.
And then being worried that it was gay to give a man mouth to mouth was absolutely a trope. But as we know, Schwarzenegger's European, so it's fine.
Right.
It's
Well, he has that
I'm just
accent,
saying,
so.
it's one of the most 90s things I've
It's
seen
very
in a while.
90s. Marco does make a comment about, he's like, he wasn't lucky. He'd have been lucky if he got mouth to mouth from Naomi Campbell. So like, you know, they do
Gross.
it.
Gross, dude.
Axe immediately cuts in, like, I don't know what we're talking about. Tobias said he was getting Cinnabon. Do you see him? Is he back? Where's the Cinnabon?
Where is the Cinnabon? He is obsessed with the Cinnabon. And why did they send a bird to get a donut?
Well,
that's
because,
what I
no,
want to
that's-
know.
First of all, cinnamon buns are not donuts. Second
Okay,
of all,
I
he's
was being
human
playful
morph.
with words. He was in human morph when he got the thing. I thought he
Yeah.
freaking carried it in with his
No.
talons.
No,
Are
they're
you
in a
sure?
food court.
All right.
You just
Chris,
can't
I know
see
you said
Tobias in
before this
human morph.
recording that I needed to yes and you a lot, but I really need you to know that human Tobias carries it back on a tray.
It just says that he carries it. He could have been in bird morph. No,
No, he's not speaking in carrots. What are they called? Brackets?
Oh, in brackets, yeah.
How do you know he's not a bird that learned to talk?
That's right. He's speaking in. Oh, that's another thing. I was just thinking about that recently. Have we talked about the fact that Tobias shouldn't be able to thought speak in bird morph or in hawk body anymore because he's not
and it
morph?
Should be a special skill of his that he can do it in human morph, right?
Yeah, he should be able to thought speak in human morph, and he shouldn't be able to in hawk morph anymore.
Because the implication is that he's still in morph when he's a red-tailed hawk, which is no longer true.
Which is no longer the case.
But it makes it seem like there's something about being a human that makes it...
We might have just stumbled on something that's problematic to begin with, because, like, Andalites just talk through thought speak.
Yeah.
So they don't need technology to talk through thought speak. So then why would their technology allow you to talk through thought speech when they're already a brain that can talk through thought speech, right?
Well, no. So the technology allows other creatures to talk through thought speak so that they can continue communicating with other Andalites.
Yeah, but if you're an Andalite and you're in the brain and you're
not in the brain, you're fully morphed.
What about an Andalite lets you... But I just feel like it's like magical thinking. Like, it's like...
Well,
why would you make
Why would the
humans
animal
able to
you
mind
morph
speak?
into have an Andalite ability?
But the Andalite ability...
I see wait, there's no reason that the technology should allow someone who morphs to thought speak, because
right.
Andalites can already thought speak. That is their mode of communication in their original form. They don't
But when you're changing the DNA completely, like, they're not an Andalite anymore.
So it allows you to continue to thought speak.
Exactly.
Got it.
And when Tobias was trapped in Hawk Morph, I was willing to accept it because I was like, well, he's still in Morph, he just can't morph back. But with the Elemist making this his, like, quote-unquote real body, it feels like it shouldn't work anymore. But maybe the Elemist didn't make this his real body, he just made him able to morph again?
But Axe doesn't thought speak when he's a human either. So this is just inconsistent.
No, but it doesn't say that he can't thought speak when he's a human.
It doesn't explicitly say it, but he's never done it.
But I almost wonder if it... I don't remember ever seeing him do it.
I'm almost positive. We would have, like, had a field day.
But I don't think it makes sense for him to thought speak in public, because then it would just look weird that there was one person not...
It doesn't make sense for him not to, because he could do some mix of both. It just doesn't make sense that it hasn't come up. That is true.
Like, a mix of both makes the most sense. I agree.
It just doesn't make sense. The logic of how this or why this works doesn't make sense, because the initial reason it was given was that animals don't have the mechanical means to communicate, and the Andalites don't require mechanical means to communicate.
Chris, I know that you're frustrated about this, but we have to recognize that you have an opportunity right now to restore your dignity in our Animorphs after the emoji post.
Oh my God, you're right.
And everyone would take you seriously again.
Oh my God. Wait, no. So maybe I can figure this out using astrology or something.
No, we can't go down that road. We can't.
But it's the only scientific way.
I know, but that's where the answer lies, but we can't. We have to find it. There must be a different way.
I'll have to use science.
Anyway, like I was saying so long ago, Marco says something to Rachel when she's talking about not wanting to feel like she's related to this man or responsible for this man in any way. He says...
Edelman?
Yeah, George Edelman.
The one that she saved.
Yeah, he's like, oh, some culture has a thing about, like, them being indebted to you forever when you save their life. I can't remember which culture. Someone. I saw it in a movie, and I like that because we know that Marco watches movies with his dad, and I like that consistent character thread, and it's here, and I like that.
Yes,
It actually, specifically, he says something more bizarre was said in the movie, which is... Marco back and forth. I don't know. Isn't it the Chinese who say if you save a man, he becomes your responsibility?
Oh yeah, it does say that.
Yeah,
I remember
the Japanese, the Greeks.
Yeah.
So now I turn to our resident geeks. Resident Greeks. Sorry.
I don't know, man.
Well, just the two of us combined, we make one Greek.
We make one Greek.
Is this a cultural
from the
thing
islands,
for you?
so like,
Chris, I feel like you've been saying this before. So.
Yeah, I've often. Well, I mean, it's why I don't save anybody. Is because
it's true.
It's just
it's too much of a risk.
Yeah,
it's why you don't have pets, and it's why you don't save lives.
The other possible weird thing that I thought about was the fact that Axe eats human food in Human Morph,
and he does it for pleasure.
I know, but I want to know what happens to it when he morphs back, because he doesn't have a stomach that supports solid food.
Probably goes in his shoe bladder and he pulls it out.
See, that's what I was thinking. Like, does he just eject it?
And then he can just pull the donut.
Does he just eject it to Z space? Is it considered like a harmful thing, and his body just breaks it down when it heals? I don't know. It's probably fine, but I had a thought about it.
We can we now know we have solved the shoe bladder thing. The shoes are just in Z space, right? Like he has a closet in zero space. Like that's where the
for some reason he can just pull things out of Z space.
I don't know.
Okay.
So no, we have not solved it.
If they put pants, if they put skin tight clothing on one of their morphs, could they then store those clothes in Z space?
That's a really important question that I want answers to.
Yes.
Except
Rachel would love that. She could store so many shoes
that
there,
I think technically, I know we've talked about their morphs branching off them in Z space, but I think technically you remorph the animal every time based on its DNA. So I think you're just storing a piece of its DNA, not necessarily the whole animal. But we would only know if we put pants on the squirrel. So we're going to have to do that to find out.
You know, I will just say these books are crumbling under their own prowess and weight of, like, they're trying to say they're sciencey and...
No, our Animorphs is trying to say they're sciencey. When it can't possibly deal with a conversation about astrology.
Later in this book, we get the Marco Mass distinction, explanation again. We get all that stuff. Like, we're coming back to all this stuff. So we're going to have time to chew on this. Let's chew on it for a bit. And
I think we should really quickly hit this. It's actually very funny that we haven't talked about this before.
Yeah, what is it? Rachel
is just compartmentalizing in how she will not really acknowledge that she has some kind of... I don't believe her that she doesn't have a connection to this man she saved, right? Like, do you hear that too? That there's some kind of...
Oh, yeah.
I do, but she also had a weird thing about how mad it made her that he wanted to die. So,
but was that also...
was that also just a refusal to acknowledge feelings of being afraid of what it means to be alive? Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe that is what's happening.
No, I was joking about the buried alive thing, but it did strike me that comes up so much. And now that we're talking about this, I feel like that's just a little thing to put a pin in.
It does really feel like this book is leaning into Rachel not making it like forever and ever and ever. It feels like she is
at risk.
She is at risk. She is an at-risk Animorph.
An at-risk youth.
But you're right though that the guy gets buried up to his waist in dirt. And then we get buried alive. It's all very, this is Chekhov's book, really.
Yeah.
It's Chekhov's book. Animorphs 1, number 17, where everything is described for the first time. Yeah, she also at some point says the phrase when she's talking about Cassie, because she's asking Cassie a question. This society is way too celebrity obsessed, I said. It's so superficial. Yes, I hate that, Cassie said. She gave me a mocking look. Cassie thinks I'm too concerned with looks and stuff. Looks and clothes. Cassie is my best friend and I would give my life for her, but you should see what she wears. For Cassie, dressing up is putting on clean jeans and socks that actually match. But I feel like that's a more pregnant I'd give my life for Cassie than...
That's true. That is an important moment. Yeah, it was buried in the superficial stuff, but she's like, I would give my life for Cassie, and that's like...
You don't really hear people saying stuff like that in these books.
Yeah.
You don't really hear people saying, like, I'd lay my life down for them, or like, what? Like,
no, Jake's just like, I'd totally kill Tom. That's the closest we get.
If I can't beat him at basketball, I'll off my brother. All right.
Yeah, there's a lot of people I'd be willing to kill for the sake of the war, and a lot fewer people I'd be willing to sacrifice myself for.
Yeah, I don't think Jake said that about Cassie or Cassie about Jake. I don't think Tobias has said that about Rachel or Rachel about Tobias.
It feels fresh.
Yeah.
Shall I read chapter 5?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
All right, I'll do better this time.
Thank you.
3 days later, Rachel... I'm just kidding. 3 days later, chapter 5. 3 days later, chapter 5, Rachel... 3 days, chapter 5 later, Rachel is digging through the frigid home. I
just want to remind you, Chris, that our listeners use this to follow
3 days later, Rachel is digging through the frigid home, trying to find some leftovers to eat as a snack. Unfortunately for Rachel, her younger sister Jordan threw out her leftovers yesterday's sad emoji. Rachel's mom, Naomi Campbell, arrives home from work. She is a lawyer and Naomi Campbell, and it turns out that her new client is none other than George Edelman. His family is attempting to institutionalize him, sad emoji. Naomi Campbell will be defending him, but it won't be easy. After all, Edelman claims to have aliens living in his head. He even has a name for them. The Yucks. He calls them the Yucks, because they're a bucket of Yucks.
He
calls them Yerks. So in this chapter, we have In this chapter, we have Rachel describing her home, which is still in shambles.
Yes, and she reminds us that it was from the time she couldn't stop morphing animals because of her crocodile allergy.
Yeah. And she then...
No, it's from that long ago?
Yes. Did you read this book?
I thought maybe I just didn't want to think about how long those shrimp have been in the fridge.
No, the shrimp are newer than that. She said the shrimp are a week old.
Oh, thank God. That's what I was remembering. Okay, I thought you were telling me what was back from the kitchen. I'm sorry, I'm caught up.
The shrimp was what we were saying was from book 12?
Yes.
Part of her allergy was ordering food online.
I can't believe nobody took pictures of the Szechuan shrimp.
I can't believe there's so many pictures of the Thai food that Hurricane Dan brought home. But there's no pictures of the Szechuan shrimp.
This fight is really cute. And
between her and her sister?
Feels very real. Jordan specifically threw out her shrimp, and she says duh at the end of every single sentence when she's telling her about why she threw it away. And she's like, it was already a week old. Duh. It was too old. Duh. It would have made you barf up your kidneys. Duh. Shrimp don't exactly stay good forever. Duh. And oh, by the way, did I mention duh?
We should say duh instead of
or instead of popcorn.
Instead of popcorn. Duh, Eddie.
Duh, Eddie.
Sarah has a friend, Tisha.
Yes. Tisha or Tisha, not sure.
Yes. And so her mom asks where she was. Where's Sarah?
Yeah, her mom gets home and is like, okay, here's Jordan and Rachel. Oh, where's Sarah? Please tell me she's not at her friend's house. Every time she comes back from there, she wants another Barbie. And sure enough, she comes like bursting through the door like, Tisha says they have a lawyer Barbie, like mommy.
It's true.
I will say, so this episode gets a special distinction for me. And I would think for you too, as being the first episode that I have seen the TV, I'm not sorry, episode, this book has a special distinction for being the first book that I have seen the TV episode based on before I read the book.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I called it right here. I made a highlight, and apparently this poor man claims he has an alien living in his head. And when she said they were trying to have him institutionalized, I literally made the note, oh my God, is it oatmeal balloon episode?
Yeah.
Wait, you're right.
In the show,
as I was reading, I was like, I think I know what happens in this one. They have balloons filled with oatmeal, but they don't end up doing.
But the McDonald's scene is like identical.
Yes,
there's a scene in a McDonald's later that is like also in the show. This is also the episode. I mean, I think it might be the last one we watched, so it's not quite fair to say. But like this episode had like absolutely over the top, like bonkers acting of people like grabbing their ears and being like, ah!
Not to mention like bananas Dutch angles and really weird, like
it was very
like
Lynchian.
Yes, very weirdly shot.
I think did they do this was this their follow-up to, they did it as the follow-up to the Eggs Tower. They said that this was actually, they do something a little different with the oatmeal. He says that the oatmeal keeps the yerk at bay in the episode of the TV show.
Right.
It works a little differently in the book. I don't want to say too much, but like I feel like this might have been their like right after they do the Eggs Tower thing, like they take out the Kandrona, or am I misremembering?
No, you're correct, because they say that in the book. It's just a couple chapters later.
Wait, why am I not remembering them take out the Kandrona in?
So when they go and talk to Edelman in a couple chapters, all that's going to come up. When they in book 7, when they took out the Kandrona at the top of the EGS tower, we always wondered what had happened there and why the Yerks weren't.
No, we did get a book about people getting like eliminated with little like needles in their neck, but I don't think the show did the needles in their neck. I don't think they did that. I don't think
they did the Eggs Tower in the show yet.
You might be right. Then this was just a really weird fucking episode.
I feel like. Do you remember there was that little disc thing?
Oh yeah, we never did find out what that was.
Yeah, I feel like
the Time Matrix.
Oh, we think that's our theory, is that it's the Time Matrix, or it's somehow related to finding the Time Matrix.
I don't know. Boop, 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 boop. No,
that's all I got. But he's got an alien living in his head. Okay. And that's when Rachel realized she had to do something about it.
Alien in my head. That's so relatable.
I have a question quickly about, we don't have to include this, the briefcases? One was normal size, the other was one of those big kind of square ones. She hefted them both up onto the counter. Why?
One's full of Szechuan shrimp.
So disgusting.
Thanks for listening to Anidorks. We'll be back soon with lots more to say. Until the Andalites return, or at least until next time. See you soon!